Hey folks, this is Best in Slot with a slightly unorthodox, very unprofessional, very messy little video. So welcome, allow me to explain. Yesterday morning I came to log onto my PC to work on the day's videos and it died. It just ticked over and it would like boot up for a few seconds and then boop, and it would just die, it would just collapse into a death. So this is going to be low-key. Let's call this a discussion sort of video. I'm going to have a bit of a discussion though, and I want to posit a question for you folks at home. It's simply this: what is your hot take? All right, let's say you've been invited onto the radio by a shock jock called Cool Charlie and the Lemon, and they have said, in order to win 10 jelly beans and 50,000 pennies, you have to give us your hottest take on the Jurassic franchise. Now, this is inspired by a Reddit post I saw a little earlier today that someone said, hot take, I really like the Brads from Camp Cretaceous. That's a hot take. The Brads suck. So, if any of you, I want to know your hottest take, your most controversial opinion on the Jurassic franchise, just out of morbid curiosity, if nothing else. As you may be able to tell, I haven't really planned this video out. So let's talk Jurassic World Rebirth, and I really just want to get a feeling for, I don't know, how do people feel about Rebirth? How confident are people in this film? Those of you who've been pessimistic about the direction of the recent trilogy and the recent films and recent side projects, we'll go into all those in a second. Has this renewed your faith a little bit? Are you cautiously optimistic? Are you as rigidly pessimistic as you've always been? I've seen comments from people who are really annoyed that we're going... Actually, okay, well, let's take this point by point, right? Point one. I don't know why that's box, but it's in a box. Point one. Uno, eins. We're going back to the island. Now, there's probably going to be some scenes elsewhere. We know we're going to, for example, a natural history museum in New York, right? That's one of the earlier settings in the films, we believe. Most of the film is due to take place on an island. We don't know what that island is. It could be Isla Sorna. It could be Isla Nublar. It's probably not Isla Nublar. It could be Isla Sorna. It could be an unnamed island, but we're going back to an island of some description. I've seen people who are quite worried that by returning to the islands yet again, after we finally got to the mainland, after we finally got the dinosaurs all over the world and everything, that it's kind of regressive to almost go back to where it all started. The funny thing is, I don't think I disagree with that. The island setting is my favourite setting, and I think it's been underexploited in some ways. Jurassic World was on the island, but it wasn't really on the island. It was in a park for most of it. It wasn't a tropical sort of setting. I'm not going to go into spoilers about Rebirth, but we have seen things that suggest they will be at least mixing up that island setting and making it a little bit more interesting. You know, now that dinosaurs are all over the place, established in Dominion and the End of Fallen Kingdom, etc., and, you know, proven further in the likes of chaos theory, there are scope for more stories out there all around the globe. And yet we're going back to the island. Like, as soon as the dinosaurs are out there, as soon as it's possible for this global approach to the franchise, just like, nah, back to the island we go again. Let's do this all over again. I would say my take on it is that it being an island doesn't really matter. You know, if they'd filmed it in some random tropical setting, for example, there's that Vietnam dinosaur film. Cannot remember the name for the life of me. It looks good. There's a new dinosaur war Vietnam film based on the comic series coming out, and it's based in the Vietnam jungle. It's based during the Vietnam War. Is that any different than having it on an island? Really? Other than there's more water around the island, is there actually any difference to setting it on an island as opposed to just in a forest somewhere? I don't think so. I think it feels regressive because it's always been islands in particular, but I think that's a slightly reductive view of the franchise. I think if the film can offer new themes, offer new settings even within that, and as I say, it looks like that's going to be the case, new characterizations, new plot lines. You know, we've seen the official synopsis for Rebirth, so I can talk about that at least. This whole finding the biggest dinosaurs for some genetic testing and stuff, we'll get into that in just a second. But that kind of stuff is at least a somewhat new angle for the franchise, and some of the settings we've seen are new for the franchise. I think the island aspect is maybe overplayed, but I can see why some people are negative on it, so I'd love to hear your thoughts about that. Point number two. I shouldn't swear at you all. Point number two. So, maybe the most controversial thing we know about so far is the plot. The entire plot of the film. There's this so for those who don't know, and this is official, this has been officially released, so it's not a spoiler. Basically the idea is the characters, the humans, are going to go to the island, and there's going to be some stranded people who will sort of get thrown into the mix. But their basic goal, basically, there's a virus or disease of some description ravaging the planet. We talked about it recently, speculating that maybe it's the DX prion disease from the Lost World Jurassic Park or something like that, ravaging the planet. And for whatever mystical, magical movie reason, the DNA in the three biggest dinosaurs, it said, the biggest land dinosaur, the biggest terrestrial, aquatic dinosaur, obviously not a dinosaur, and again, the biggest pterosaur. For some reason, there is something in their DNA that will halt this catastrophe. I don't know how they're going to justify that in any way that isn't total nonsense. But at the end of the day, Jurassic Park's always been a little bit nonsense with the science. That's just part and parcel of the series. I do hope it has at least some of that grounded feeling, which I think is what people are worried about. So I want to know how people feel about that plot, because that aspect of the plot is really the only thing about Rebirth I'm personally concerned about. I'm really excited about a lot of what I've seen. I think the cast is really good. I think the setting, from what we've seen on certain leaks and stuff, is really cool. I think the way people are talking about it is really cool. Like, all the staff members involved are great. There's a lot of good stuff going on. And I think the early photos we saw as well, we have had two official, that's a very different thing. We've had two official photos, and they both had that correct tone. Maybe a little bit nostalgia baiting with the flair, but a good tone for what I want for a Jurassic. I kind of want like a back to basics, slightly more horror-laced survival adventure, because I feel like we've not had that at all in the Jurassic World films, and that's what the original trilogy was. The original trilogy were survival films in a lot of ways, and I don't think Jurassic World has that. I've actually lost track. I've actually completely forgotten what I was talking about. I think my concern is that what I really want is for this film to feel grounded, because that's the main thing I lost in Jurassic World compared to Jurassic Park, especially the first two Jurassic Parks. 3 began to push that a little bit, but the first two films were very grounded, very gritty, very dirty, you know. And then Jurassic World came out and everything's very shiny and glass, and that was very much the point. Yeah, I'm not slamming World for that in particular, because, you know, the gyrospheres compared to the tour vehicles, right? That's a very purposeful choice. The gyrospheres look fancy and shiny, and they can see the dinosaurs, and it's high tech because it's part of that critique on capitalism. But aesthetically and thematically, it just doesn't do it for me, basically. It's not really my kind of thing. But it's not just that, it's the building designs, you know, everything became shiny and big and flashy. Characterization. Owen Grady would not have... Think about Owen Grady. And then think about Paul Kirby, okay? And just think about how those two characters are portrayed and played and everything and their characterization. You could not put Paul Grady in the original trilogy and have him not stick out like a sore thumb. And that's really my problem with the direction of the franchise, is that it doesn't... On like an emotional core level, it doesn't feel the same. And I hope that's not just nostalgia, because again, I think that Owen wouldn't have fit in the original trilogy. He would appear unrealistic to the more grounded characters in the first 3 films. So my concern with that genetics plotline is that it will be a little bit too high science fantasy nonsense kind of stuff. And I hope it isn't. I hope it's basically, right, this is why we're going to go to the island. This is why we're going to see these dinosaurs. Something else gets in the way. We know there's a deep, dark secret, so I'm hoping that takes the focus, whatever that is. I want genetic testing and stuff, but I want it dirty. You know, I want it like the lab they find in Jurassic Park 3 with the velociraptors and everything like that. That's the kind of slant on genetics that I want from this franchise, personally. And from what I've seen, I feel like it's going back to that original trilogy ethos, and hopefully that genetic element isn't too big a deal. Number 3. I'm only going to do 3 of these because I've been talking somehow for nearly 20 minutes. I haven't said anything. So, the 3, and I want you all to respond to all. I want your hot takes, and then how do you feel about the island? How do you feel about the genetic testing? And how do you feel? This isn't planned, clearly. And how do you feel about that weird vibration noise coming from... Oh, it's a firework. It's a firework. Why is it a firework? It's the 30th of October. Is that Guy Fawkes night? Isn't that the 5th? Remember the 5th of November? This is actually... Okay, no, right, no. Better question. Scratch that. Cut that. We know they're chasing down 3 giant dinosaurs. Prehistoric reptiles. A pterosaur, an aquatic creature, and a dinosaur. What do you think those 3 are going to be? Let's assume, because otherwise this will be really boring, that they're new. Right? Let's assume it's not the Mosasaurus, the Quetzalcoatlus, and Brachiosaurus. See, I've been speculating for a long time. I've only just made this connection in my head. I've been speculating for a long time that Spinosaurus is going to appear in this film, right? It's not really based on anything, except there's a lot of water. And rumours, suggestions, hearsay. Nothing concrete, nothing spoilery. There's a suggestion Spinosaurus might make a reappearance. In Jurassic Park 3, when they hear the roar of the Spinosaurus and they ask what it is, and Billy starts offering suggestions, he says, is it a T-Rex? And Grant says it's bigger. And then Billy says, like, Suchomimus baryonyx or something stupid. But that's neither here nor there. The point is, it is canonically established that Spinosaurus is bigger than T-Rex. Just saying. I'm just saying. Right, I'm going to go. This is the first time I've done a webcam video in a long time. I'm going to talk about this very, very briefly. This is a little personal, and you've made it through a long time of me talking nonsense. So you deserve some personal chat. Stop vibrating. Some of you will have been here last year, and I went on holiday to Morocco. I went to Morocco. I took a little video while I was in Morocco in my pineapple swinger shirt, right? That was the best I felt in a long time. I felt really good about myself. I was in a great mood. I was in a great place. Working out, lifting, blah, 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 blah. Swinging. So I was in a really good spot. And for whatever reason, I got hit like a truck on that holiday. And I got back from the holiday and I had the week to myself the next week, which doesn't happen very often. I just had a week completely on my own. And I started eating really badly, and I ate terribly. And since that holiday, so we're talking late August last year, September, I think I got back, mid-September maybe, I put on about 80 pounds. I put on, not I've. I put on about 80 pounds. I don't know what that is in kilograms. It's 2.2, isn't it? So 35, something like that. And I spiraled. It was bad. I just ate terribly. I stopped working out. I was deeply depressed for the entirety of the end of 2024 and like the first 3-4 months of 2025. Really 6-7 months of couldn't get out of bed, couldn't do anything. I was on the edge. It was bad. It was real bad. And obviously putting tons of weight. So I stopped showing up on camera because I don't think people care really, but I care about how I perceive myself, at least to some extent. I don't really like putting myself out there if I don't feel comfortable in myself, right? And my bar for that is quite high, typically, but everyone's got their own comfort levels. Everyone's got their certain points they're happy with, right? But since then, working out like a monster, dropped 60 pounds as of today, actually, as it happens. So I'm not quite back where I was, but I'm very, very close. And then got a little bit more work to do there, but making good progress. Feeling a hell of a lot better. Wasn't quite ready, I'm not going to lie, to do the webcam and stuff like that. This is earlier than planned. I've got a fairly big goal coming up and I was waiting to hit that at the very least, but needs must, and I feel okay, so it is what it is. I'm just trying to explain why I haven't been knocking around on cam, because there's things we've been doing like Prehistoric Kingdom streams and horror games, and I'd like to be on camera for that because I think it's more interactive. I think I connect a little bit better with you folks face to camera, face the sort of keyboard, I guess. I don't know how you describe it, but I feel like I connect and get my point across more with my hands if I'm on camera. So It's important for me that it's something I'm able to do, and I haven't felt able to do so for the last year, basically, a little bit less than a year, maybe last 10 months or so. It's only now, I'm back training 6 days a week. As I say, dropped 60 pounds. We'll have videos on that down the line. I'm working on like a big thing, but that's a ways away. But yeah, I'm getting there, and this is my tenuous step back into saying hello on camera every now and again. Basically, you may well see me on Friday. Frankly, if my PC isn't working again, I'll be back doing this. I will plan the video out more. I'll have like a theory to present or a discussion or something. Stayed here for this entire video, you lunatic. I hope this wasn't too bad. I do apologise for the lack of regular content. It's gonna hurt in a few days, I shall see. This was a terrible week for my PC today. I was planning to relaunch Bike Force tomorrow on Halloween. Literally tomorrow I was planning on it. But it's gonna have to wait a week now. But it's on the way. It's on the way. Thank you very much for joining me. I'll see you lovely folks very soon. Cheers. Much love. And as always, bye-bye.